Departure into the runway, then a left turn and a left downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left base, you're following a Cessna down low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final, you're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold, take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final, runway 9er clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we have one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger, let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down, tricycle, put it down, tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you cleared land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around, that'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. You do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RV, maybe an RV-10, whatever, here on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around.
Yeah, follow.
Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that after 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello. Four, 3, 2, 1. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. Welcome to the live stream. You'll notice that there's no Ian tonight. Instead, we have Rob Hughes, the British Microlight Association CEO, filling in for his spot. So, Rob, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Also tonight, you can't see him at the moment, but he's in the green room, is Aero Legends Spitfire pilot Antony Parkinson MBE. We'll be talking to him a little bit later. But first, thanks to our sponsors, Sky Demon. And here's Hannah with tonight's top tip.
Hi, I'm Hannah from Sky Demon, and this is this week's top tip. If you struggle to read the text on the map, perhaps because your screen is on the smaller side or your eyesight's not what it used to be, you can increase the text size as well as the size of the waypoint symbols. Go to the mapping menu here in the corner and adjust as needed. You can also change the size of the instruments in Go Flying mode. Go to Setup, Navigation Options, Instruments, and use this button to make the instruments bigger or smaller if you're using Sky Demon on a phone. For more information, go to our website skydemon.aero.
You can almost hear Hannah just thinking to herself, if you're a little bit old and your eyesight is not what it used to be. Yes, exactly, Rob. Yeah. Well, that's pretty useful. Though I think on my phone I want to make things bigger, not smaller. So
Yeah. You've got one of those fancy big phones, haven't you, Ed?
yeah, it's not so big. No, it can't be in the RV3 cockpit. As Borderless Aviation and David Eads says tonight, no rant tonight, unless Rob, you're thinking of you're channeling your inner Ian for rant.
No, very happy this evening.
Yes. Nick Allen says lots of older, short-sighted people now frantically testing their Sky Demon. Top tip, he said, squinting. Yes, fantastic. Well, and not with us tonight, but here by recording, and that usually means that the weather forecast is going to be a bit duff, which I hope it's not. But anyway, so Simon sent us some weather. Let's see what the shirt can bring us.
Hi everyone, hope this evening finds you well. Sorry that I can't be with you live this evening, so this recorded version of Simon will have to do. But look, I've got the bright shirt on for you anyway, so it almost feels as if it's live, doesn't it? Apart from the sun shining outside. But never mind. This is how the satellite picture has shaped up through today. It's quite a nice picture, actually. That's that front going off towards the east of the country. You notice some cloud coming in through Scotland, some heavy showers across parts of Wales, central, southern and southwestern parts of England, but sunshine in between. Now, overall, the weekend's not looking that bad. I've seen slightly better, but I think there are going to be some flying windows to be found. Now, Friday, we've got a polar maritime air mass on Friday. If you remember what one of those is, it comes in from the northwest. It's a classic sunshine and showers. Generally, we get good spells of blue skies in between the showers, so it is flyable between the showers, although across windward facing coasts, northern and western Scotland, northern and western Ireland, we are going to be seeing here the heaviest of the showers, and some hefty showers as well, getting down through Wales and southwest England. This occluded front, you see, is going to be weakening as it moves eastwards. It's not a bad day overall on Friday. Typical bases around about 2,000 to 3,000 feet. Maybe a bit higher than that, actually. The tops are coming in at about 10 to 15,000 feet, but tops in those showers probably near around 20,000 feet. But as I say, generally, it's not a bad day. Now, Saturday, ridge of high pressure built in on Saturday. So, as you may remember, ridges of high pressure bring generally good weather. So, generally, I'm expecting a pretty decent sort of day. Now, typical bases are becoming about 4,000 to 8,000 feet, but perhaps as low as 2,000 feet in the channel, particularly at first. And we'll find increasing cloud in the west as this front across Ireland moves its way eastwards. Now, that brings rain and drizzle across Ireland in the afternoon, leading to non-VFR conditions there. But for most of us, it looks as if it should be a fairly decent sort of day. Sunday, all change. Fronts getting into the west, bringing quite a messy situation. Effectively, with a strong southwesterly wind, it looks as if these sort of areas are going to be non-VFR. Bases typically about 1,000 to 2,000 feet, tops at about 40,000 feet, so really not that pleasant. Add into that reduced visibility and pretty yuck overall. I think southern coast of England may also suffer with some low cloud, but perhaps the far southeast of England is better flyable here, with the bases higher at about 4,000 feet, tops about 8,000 feet. Gusting winds 25 to 30 knots across many parts of central and western England and Wales, and just clagged up across those western coasts. Look here, you see those orange and red colours in the west really showing us that low cloud. So pick of the days, actually Friday not bad, tomorrow not bad, but I think Saturday certainly with that ridge coming in, and particularly earlier on Saturday, once any mist patches have cleared, looks pretty darn good. All weather schools are full, so I can't tell you anything else about weather schools apart from if you want to go on the wait list for when I announce my new dates, just go to weatherschool.co.uk, complete the contact form there, and I'll let you know as soon as we announce the new dates for weather school. Okay, I will leave you with that for now. Whatever you do, have a great weekend, won't you? Safe flying, keep the sun shining. If you're coming into Wolverhampton, Hatley Green, do let me know, and I'll give you a wave. Okay, thanks again for watching. Keep the sun shining. Bye for now. See you guys. Bye.
Okay, I'll take that. I've got things to do on Saturday, and it looks like that's the day for the weather. And I saw a few people in the comments as well who clearly had similar plans. Were very nice. Sunday, maybe not so much.
Yep.
Yeah. And as Katkin says, the weather forecast is always correct. It's just the day that it happens which can be wrong. Excellent. Okay, so our new item that we'll dive back into later in the show if there's time. It's question of the week. Simple one tonight. What type of PPL have you got, and have you added any extras? As always, pop it in the comments, and we'll circle back around to it later on. Dave, I think are we ready for the news?
I think so. Yes. The big news for us is that today we've launched something called Drone Watch. Drone Watch is what it says. It's looking at what's happening with drones, and particularly we're going to be looking at identifying and publicising any proposed drone trials and the temporary danger areas that come with them. We're going to be scrutinising the workings of these trials and their impact on GA. And thirdly, perhaps most importantly, we're going to encourage the CAA and DFT to get on with the idea of introducing integrated airspace instead of segregating people out. What's led to this is that there are at least 18 proposals currently going through the airspace change proposal process to stage drone trials. They've all got temporary danger areas associated with them. So that's 18 separate temporary danger areas coming up if they all go through. One of the worst, of course, is the Northumbria, what's called the Appian Northumbria Grid. This is an NHS trials that they're doing around Newcastle. The consultation day for that ends tomorrow. And Paul Cadell has been kind of leading the consultation against it, if you like, pointing out what's going to happen. 2 airstrips are going to have to close while that takes place. Now, since 2019, there have been 21 of these airspace change processes gone through for drone trials, and there have been another 30 proposals withdrawn or paused. So you can kind of see the scale of these of the issue. Most of these trials involve what's known as beyond visual line of sight operations. These can't be carried out unless there's a temporary danger area created. What we're all calling for, and the drone industry is just the same, they're crying out for this. We want an integrated airspace system rather than a segregated one. The technology is not far away. It's being trialed at the moment in the US with UAvionics. In the US, actually, it's interesting. They've got quite a different system there. They've taken a bit of North Dakota, which is pretty remote and deserted, and they've set up a drone testing site. So drone companies can go there, test the technology, and not get in the way of everybody else. So kind of think, why don't we do that here? one of the reasons, of course, that there are so many proposals is that there's quite a bit of money available from the Department for Transport on various schemes, grants, in other words, to fund these. The one up in Northumbria, that's about £700,000 attached to that one. So it's quite a chunk of money available. We're not accusing these companies of doing anything illegal, but there's why do they have to do it this way?
Yeah, and we've heard a lot of talk of kind of grant chasing, and when there's a lot of grant money around, companies will come up with things that they can do to create trials to go after that money. It's not surprising, as Andrew Kennedy says. Are any of the 18 actually trialing something that hasn't already been trialed?
That's a very good point. They're all doing very similar things. And same companies are involved quite a bit of the time. So it's not like they're individual companies. Skyport's one big one. Appian is another big one. So there's quite a few operating several trials.
Well, it's something I'm going to talk about a little bit later on, but I'm part of the CAA's panel to look into electronic conspicuity, which is the thing that's going to drive the integrated airspace forwards. We had another meeting this week. The longer you go on, the more fudge-like it becomes. It's a very difficult decision, very difficult solution to be found. And I share the frustration of the drone operators because they want to get on and do the work that they're doing. Some of it's particularly good work and very worthy for drones, but they simply don't have the way to operate at the moment except to have a TDA. So I'm a pilot, but I also have a bit of sympathy for them. They're trying to do something legal, but don't yet have the system to do it.
Yeah.
As Paul Cadell says, there's been robust responses from all the national associations this week, thanks to GA, LA, BMA, BGA.
Yeah.
So that's really good to hear. But that Northumbria one it's hard to believe that that's got to where it's got to without them paying attention to some of the stakeholders there. So
yeah,
I did talk to a very senior CAA employee who said it shouldn't really have been accepted by CAA in the first place.
Really?
Yeah.
Which is disappointing. But hopefully all of these things help the discussion kind of evolve, and we avoid this. Hopefully this can be avoided, and future problems like this, we just don't end up in this position. So
yeah.
David Eade says just keep them below 400 feet. That's in most cases that wouldn't be an issue, David. But in the case of the Northumbria one, there's actually two strips that the drones at 400 feet would directly conflict with operation at these two strips. I think that's correct, isn't it?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why it's causing the closure of these sites while the trial is on.
And also, helicopter operators don't like the idea of 400 feet because they tend to land wherever they want to.
Yeah.
The answer is keeping us separate. The question is, how do we keep each other separate?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, well, see how that one evolves. But yes, Drone Watch is here to stay. I feel that it should have like a Crime Watch style theme tune. Put some more
gone very dark here,
Dave.
Computer's still on, but the lights have gone.
Okay, lights are off. Nobody's home. Richard Kennedy said, "I still don't see why these trials aren't all confined to a bit of dedicated airspace. They should all be made to carry out the trials in a known environment. Plenty of underused MOD estate." Yeah.
Well, there is.
We're all. You have the question: is it actually a trial of something?
Yes. Yeah.
We're all NIMBYs in our own way, but there is. And I've just remembered there is an ACP out for Fairford for remotely piloted drone operations. So I need to look up at what stage that's at, because that would clearly be above 400 feet. Don't know what it would be, what aircraft type, but clearly there'd be some.
And that's around
there, places like Kemble for Gloucester.
Yeah. Oh well, we will see. Cat Burton says, of course, Aberporth. That's definitely out of the way. Good. Okay. My news story next, and some good airfield news for once. Now, all too often we hear about airfields that are under threat, but this time it's about an airfield that's getting a new lease of life, and that's the great news that fixed-wing aircraft are returning to North Deans Airfield near Great Yarmouth, Norfolk, for the first time in decades. So this all came about. Just find you a photo. All began in late August when a Piper PA-28 landed at the airfield, flown by local pilot Ray Allgood. He lived up to his name with a really smooth landing on the 600-metre grass runway, and a handful of other fixed-wing and gyrocopters have followed suit. Now, the airfield used to be used for helicopter operations and is still known as Yarmouth Heliport. It was owned by the Canadian Helicopter Corporation and used for North Sea oil and gas rig operations. But it's been in new ownership since May 2022. And in a message that the guys there sent me earlier today, they said the challenge now exists to determine how it intelligently evolves. Could be GA or re-engaging commercial as an open skies approach, a flight school, fixed wing of any type, rotary gyroplane or microlight, RPAS and drones. Professional or leisure, but they say whatever it is, the balance for users must all be equitable. They went on to say that Yarmouth is fortunate to have a supportive local authority, and they say that they really cherish the presence of the airfield and want to see aviation in some form remain. And also that the CAA have been in talks and they've been very supportive too. If you're interested in flying in there, they are continually improving the strip there. It's got a few bumps in, but I think it's getting better. And the Yarmouth team say they encourage you to get in touch, drop in for a brew and a chat. They say we are open, engaging and ready to serve aviation and the people of Great Yarmouth and the surrounding areas to create a year-round economy, not just a seasonal playground. I'll stick a link to their website in the comments.
Presumably, they must be going to rename it because it's no longer just a heliport, is it? They've branded as Yarmouth Heliport, and I guess for some that could be confusing. But I guess as long as you know that you can fly in there, and they've got this lovely strip, so the link is there. I guess hopefully that will be straightforward. Paul Fraser Benison says we need to fly in. Ian Course says I've flown offshore from there a couple of times. So
we need a flyer tie-in for free landings to get people to go and visit.
Yeah. Well, Yarmouth Heliport, if you're listening, and that's an option, we'll send someone your way. Certainly, I know Ian and I hope to get up there at some time. So, Johnny.
Yeah, just a quick news story. I don't think we've got a picture for this actually, but BA have opened their application window for the new Speedbird Pilot Academy. So that'll see people training with their chosen training providers, which is FT Hereth and Skyborne. And that's going to start early next year. And then once the course is completed, you'll land a job as a full-time salaried pilot in the airline. The application window is a big thing. People have been waiting for this for years. And the application window is open for 1 week. But they've said they reserve the right to change that should it be required. I imagine they'll be getting hammered with applications. So it's usual things of 6 GCSEs, fluent in English, valid passport, right to live and study in the UK. But the age range is 17 to 55. So there's probably a lot of people watching this who could stick in an application for it.
And it's not like, we've got spaces for 20 people. This is a big wide open program, is it?
Yeah, this is 60 people in total, I think, to begin with. And yeah, it's going to be, it was one of the first, TUI were the first back in December really to open up a airline sponsored cadet program. But BA they announced this back in July. In fact, they announced it, or sort of announced it, Pilot Careers Live in Manchester, one of our events that Stiga runs. So yeah, it's a good kind of bonfire up the backside of the industry really, and shows that Dave's looking quizzical at my metaphor there, but yeah,
I was just wondering about that.
You never know, that may catch on, Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's open. And also TUI have just announced their next cadet program, which is due to start next January. Applications will be open from, I think, the 4th of January for about a month. And their current cadets have just started in the past couple of weeks. I think they're training at Skyborne as well. So all in all, it's a good, positive sort of time for the airline industry. So we hope it continues.
Yeah, great. Cat Burton says 60 a year, expecting 12,000 applications.
Yeah, comment. Yeah,
that's probably no joke. So very good, Rob. So obviously, what's been going on with you and BMAA? I know you've got fingers in many pies.
Okay, so just a couple of points on my association. If you don't know, I'm the CEO of the BMAA, but obviously involved in a lot of other things that interest you if you're not a microlighter. So BMAA, we've had our year end recently. Finances are looking good. We've issued more permits in the last 12 months than we did in the previous 12 months for the last 11 years. So for 11 years, our permit numbers were going down. This year, they've gone up, which is big news for us, but it's also big news for aviation. It means more people are now flying 2-seat permit microlights as opposed to going single-seat or sub-70. And license applications are broadly similar. I think it's within 2 of the year before. So looking healthy from that point of view. On the airworthiness side, we've now got 19 light sport microlight types, so 600 kilo types, 19. And what with people switching their Sky Rangers and Icaruses from 450 to a higher weight, it's now 1 in 4 of our fleet is more than 450 kilo microlight. We've new types still coming in. Annabelle reported for Flyer a while ago on the TL Sting. Very pleased to say that after some design changes, the Sting's about to cross the line and will hopefully be approved in the very near future. So those who have bought Stings a while ago will finally be able to get to fly them. In the news in the last few weeks, Skyleader have gained A81 approval with the CAA, which is the quality assurance system with CAA. So they're now able to have their aeroplanes approved, and they're having both the Skyleader 400 and 600 approved through the BMAA. And last but not least, in our August issue of Microlight Flying magazine, we had a visit to the Shark factory. And the Shark is undergoing test flying in its UK format at the moment, and then it'll start the approval process again with us, the BMAA. So that's us, but a little bit wider. I'm involved in the license review with CAA. As you know, they're looking at simplifying the sub-ICAO licenses in the UK, making some progress. There are different viewpoints within the group, but we'll go to stage 2 consultation probably at the end of this year, giving the different options that we've hammered out for the public to then have their say on, which will then lead to stage 3 next year and how we implement the decisions that we in the consultation have made. One thing on licenses, if you are an older microlight or SLMG pilot, so I'm talking pre-2008, you might be revalidating on the 5 in 13 hour system, as opposed to me, I'm on an MPPL, so I'm 12 hours in 24 months. CAA have signaled that that's going to come to an end. It's likely going to come to an end. So watch that. If you're currently revalidating on the 5 in 13, this might be your last year. Last point is that something Dave raised is the electronic conspicuity. The CAA are obviously looking into electronic conspicuity and some magic solutions, a magic box that we all carry so we can integrate safely with drones. It's difficult. They have a very difficult job. It gets more difficult the more meetings we have. One very good thing that's come out of it is that CAA mandated GASCO, the Flight Safety Council, to look into the human factors surrounding EC. How do we use EC and what effect does it have on us? That's going to be published, I think, in October. It's going to be video based. We've seen a preview of it and it's absolutely fantastic. It really is good. It has a very good message to portray. I can't tell you it now. It's going to be launched properly in October, but do look out for it when it comes out and do pay attention to it. EC is not the answer. It should be something that you use along with your rev counter and your T's and P's. You shouldn't be glued to it. And the message really will include, don't be overtaken by EC. You should be in control of it and not it in control of you. That's it. That's my news.
Very good. I know a couple of people I know that I fly with sometimes go, it's like, oh, I don't want to know about all that traffic out there. It's like too much to take in. And it's like people do get completely freaked out sometimes. They just get all consumed by traffic on the screen. So
well, watch out for the Gasco study. It's a good one in association with Steve Jarvis of Jarvis Bagshaw. If you look up Steve Jarvis, you can see he's got a long history of this sort of academic study, and he's good.
Yeah, 3 interesting, very quick ones for you, Rob. Well, 2 and a third one from Paul Kiddell. Richard Kennedy says, "Is there any updates on the license review?"
Well, I'm sworn to secrecy, I'm afraid. We are making good progress. We're concentrating obviously on the sub-ICAO because the ICAO license is out of CAA's hands. There are 2 main viewpoints. I really shouldn't spill confidences. Both are valid. And it will be up to us to decide which way we go forward.
Cool. And Catkin says, have you got a view on Safe Sky? Have you used Safe Sky? I've had a go with it.
Yeah, if you're low down.
Yeah, it's dependent on the phone signal. Paul Kiddell says,
in our world, flying world, sort of, I mean, it's on mobile phone technology, so it's like they find my phone with an iPhone if you have it. If you're in range, so if you're flying low like a paramotorist might be, brilliant. But I'm not in range most of the time. So it could be that the EC argument, if we win, would mean that whatever you're using, so if you are a paramotorist using Safe Sky, that could form part of this matrix which forms the whole EC picture. Now, CAA don't like that because Safe Sky is not approved, it doesn't give a guaranteed position and so on. But our argument is, well, at least people are using them. Everybody does have a phone. Paramotorists do fly with phones, might be willing to fly with a phone rather than buying a box for hundreds of pounds in the future. Yeah. The big question with EC for me is, currently, people can fly without having to declare that they are pilots. If you fly a paramotor, you can buy one and fly it. If you are mandated to carry some form of EC, you then have to register yourself. You have to be made aware to CAA that you are a pilot. And it could be that step, going from an anonymous flyer to somebody who's now got an ID tag, is going to be more difficult than paying out hundreds of pounds for a box, which is another argument we use.
Paul Goodell says, ironically, Apian say their zipline drones don't do ADS-B as it's not used in the UK. I bet the CA love that after all the EC grants. Unbelievable. One final comment on that. Paul Fraser Benison says 99% of perfect is better than note.
Well, we keep trying it. See if CA will listen to us.
Yeah, fantastic. Right. Well, it's just time for the Flyer Club promo video. I'll click go on that, and out to the other side of that, we'll bring our guest in.
Hello, this video is sponsored by us, the Flyer Club. And if you're not a member already, we'd love for you to join.
Members get access to all of our content, our free landing fees every month, exclusive webinars, and much, much more.
It costs just £5 per month to become a member, so head on over to flyer.co.uk/membership or click the link in the description below.
It's a proper good deal.
It's a bargain.
That bit at the end always makes me laugh.
How do we get roped into doing this stuff? I don't know. Antony, welcome along.
Nice to be here.
Good evening, Parky. So, that's Dave.
There we go.
It's Parky. So, Flight Lieutenant Antony Parkinson, MBE, aka Parky, joined the RAF as a teenager. Had a long career flying the Typhoon, the F4, the F3, as well as the F-16 with the Dutch, and then a stint with the Red Arrows, and then the BBMF. And Parky now, as probably many of you know, is flying the Spitfire with Aero Legends and has amassed over 1,500 hours now, I think. So, Parky, thank you for joining us. My first question is, you've got a lot of first solos there. Which one was the most enjoyable?
Do you know, all first solos I think are enjoyable. The first time I ever went solo, I can still vividly recall even the incomprehension that I was allowed to fly this thing on my own. You know, at the age of 17 at Goodwood in a Piper Tomahawk, and it was a wonderful experience. But I suppose the standout is the Spitfire, really, because it just means so much. You know, it's probably an aircraft that we all just so yearn to fly. And again, you know, it's pinch yourself. I could not believe that the Royal Air Force letting me fly this aircraft, and it was magic, obviously.
Yeah. So before we talk about some of the stuff you've done in the past, just tell us quickly how Aero Legends works, how it's set up, where you operate from, and how people can experience it.
Yeah, so I've been with Aero Legends, 6 years now. It's a variety of flight experiences. I primarily deal with the Spitfire, either flying the two-seat Spitfire, so customer in the back, getting the the full experience, or that we have a single-seat Spitfire and a fly widths. At the moment, we fly alongside helicopters, so sort of it's a long ranger. 4 people in the helicopter, and I fly in close, and then wang around beside them so they see the Spit in its natural environment. But we fly Tiger Moth, so experience that. Harvard, they've got some Dakotas, so the guys have just been out in doing the para drops at Arnhem. That's a load of boys love to jump out of Dakotas with all the gear on. So really, it's it's a company that provides experiences. The owner, Keith Perkins, is massively keen for people to get the chance, and it's a big industry now. The SSAC, that's what the CAA have called the approvals, safety standards, acknowledgement, consent. So basically, you sign, you accept that it's riskier than flying in an airliner, and if you accept the risk, you are allowed to fly in the back of a Spitfire, and it's wonderful. It's a lot of flying, but genuinely, I thoroughly enjoy introducing somebody to an easy sell, the Spitfire.
Brilliant. So you started getting your warbird experience in the RAF with the BBMF.
Yeah.
Everyone always talks about the Red Arrows and what it's like to get in and join that team, but how does that contrast to actually joining the BBMF? Is it a similar sort of joining process? Is it as rigorous?
Yeah, I guess at the time it wasn't quite for me. It was, I think most people are aware of the Reds. Generally, it's every now and again it's 2 if the boss is changing, but normally it's 3 slots per year. They shortlist 9. Back in the day, there was typically about sort of 50 guys would sort of have the credentials to apply. They shortlist 9. You spend a week with the team, and face fits, flying tests, laughing whenever a Red Arrow said a joke, whatever it was. You somehow got into the team. And again, I was bemused how I managed to do that. But the BBMF, a slot came up. At the time, for me, it was not quite. I think maybe a couple of guys applied. I was just at Coningsby, so it was quite a small pool at the time. And I managed to get the BBMF and fly. But subsequently, I think they've done interviews, maybe not quite the same, not a week of interviews, but a sort of day of interviews, and a kind of similar procedure. But definitely super fortunate to get both. I don't know if you know a guy called Doug Mason and Smithy and myself. Whenever the 3 of us are together, we literally can't believe that the 3 of us managed to get 2 of the great deals in the RAF, the Red Arrows and the BBMF.
So did much of any GA flying that you did kind of help prepare you for BBMF, or is it just transferable skills from flying fast jets?
Yeah, I hadn't really done much GA flying. When I first joined, I did a little bit at 17, and then fast forward 34 years, and I'd really just been so busy constantly flying jets that I really didn't need to, and I hadn't got the time to do it. So, for me, it was just as building in a Chipmunk, and in the back seat of the Chippy. So, getting used to propellers and tail dragging, and that was a bit of a shock to the system, compared to certainly the Eurofighter I was on at the time. Huge difference in as much as the sort of real hands and stick and rudder and all of the nuances of tail dragging. Subsequently, now I do a fair bit more sort of GA flying, and probably I say it's the other way. The BBMF has armed me better for doing that, because you clearly float around. Often with BBMF you'd be flying around possibly on your own for, I don't know, an hour and a half, doing about 7 fly paths and a couple of displays. And it really was just navigating around the UK as per, GA traffic does. So, I'm not sure the Fastjet did, but BBMF helped me.
Brilliant. So going back to the jet, you've flown quite a breadth of airplanes from like big Cold War machines like the Phantom through to the F-16 and the Typhoon. Has the job gotten any easier with advances in technology? Is being a fighter pilot in the Typhoon easier than it was flying the Phantom?
No, I'd say it's pretty much horses for courses. It's the same bunch. If you go back in the day to the Battle of Britain or in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it's, I think cut from similar cloth, to be honest. It's a love of flying and operating, the cutting edge at the time. Technology definitely moves on, albeit the F-16 I flew sort of mid-90s and the Typhoon, certainly in performance, were similar. Probably the Typhoon's got the edge, and I guess, it's a newer avionics and better stuff in Typhoon. But still, the fast jet world, the fighter pilot world is, it's quite busy at times, no matter what you're in. You could argue the Eurofighter's an easier beast to fly than a Phantom. It's fly-by-wire, but there's no trim in the thing. You let go of the stick and she just holds whatever you've got. Whereas do that in a Phantom, it would not hold what you've got. So, it was probably more stick and rudder, for want of a better expression, in the Phantom than the Typhoon. But in any aircraft that I've flown, the principles remain the same. Technology moves on, but air combat, 1v1 air combat particularly, it's exactly the same no matter what you're in. Same two aircraft. If it's in two Typhoons, the fight's a bit smaller, a bit more dynamic. You maybe think ahead better for the weaponeering, etc. But essentially, it's the same, but technology moves on.
Brilliant. Ed, I don't know if we've got any questions in the comments because I've not managed to have a look. But before that, Parky, BBMF versus Red Arrows, if you could go back and do a season again, which would it be?
That's like choosing between your favourite kids, really. I think that's such a difficult one. I never really thought, probably for the first, 15 or so years that I even had a chance at the Reds. It seemed very, very, very elite and just sort of above what I thought I could do, to be honest. It was very, very A-level flying. So there we go. But it was one of those things. I did the Tornado display for 99-2000. That's it there with that's Jabba Dave Haig. So we did that for 2 years. So I was on the sort of display circuit and and bumped into the Reds a lot, and they were the top ones. And actually, really got to realise that it just regular pilots in the RAF who happened to get into the team, and really enjoying watching their show, hang out with the guys. And a guy called Andy Evans, I remember chatting to him. I said, "Why don't you apply? You've got a good shout, mate. Have a go." And I kind of figured I'd done the F-16 exchange, which was again perceived as a good deal. That I probably had my good deal, but it doesn't work like that. And and I applied and I got in. So I was blown away, and it was everything I expected it to be. It was utterly fantastic flying with the Reds. I could bang on about it for ages. And then, I guess probably it was in 2013, so 2007. So it would have been about 3 or 4 years after leaving the Reds. The stock came up on the BBMF, and again, didn't really think I stood a chance. Now I had 2 definite good deals, but applied and got it again. And to pick the difference, very, very similar but very different. Obviously you do the formation with the warbirds on the wing of the Lancaster. If you were doing a 3-ship and a fair bit as a pair and maybe a tail chase, we did do a synchro display BBMF, either 2 Spits or Hurricane at Spit. But I had the privilege of doing the Spitfire Typhoon display in 2015, which was fantastic. But the Reds is a different league in terms of the formation bits to it. So they're similar, but they are very different. You definitely are on the display world. That remains the same, albeit with the Reds you tend to ping around a lot more, whereas you're probably slightly more Conisby based. the variety in BBMF is far more. You know, I mentioned earlier you might do an hour and a half on your own, you know, in a spit, just you doing a few flypasts and then taking in some displays. Whereas obviously with the Reds, you know, it was the 9 chip, you were part of that team. Your position moved every year, but you know, you literally work hard on that show. And it was almost daunting when it was like going to Valley and fly Hawk on your own. It was like, how do I ask for takeoff again? Because for 3 years you had just been, you know, Red 4, Red 8, and you just followed your leader. So both display teams, but pretty different, and I love both of them. I can't pick a winner there.
Just very quickly, Parky, can you? I don't know if we've got a little bit of a comms issue with you. You're a little bit crackly. Are you on a phone? Can you maybe cite?
Do you want to come a bit closer?
Maybe, yeah, or give it a kind of oil pressure gauge type tap, maybe. So
yeah, really technical. That's being a phantom again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just be a bit closer. How about that?
Yeah, still a little bit crackly. Yeah, you may just have to lean in. And let's carry on anyway. Richard Kennedy says, how does the Lancaster crew work? Is there a team member for every seat, or do they just get some guests jumping in spare positions?
Yeah, so there's pilot, co-pilot. So back in the war, they flew the pilot, and then there was an air engineer who sort of sat beside him, stood up, but he could kind of, if the pilot got killed, he kind of could keep it straight and level, maybe have a go at landing it, or they'd bail out. So just one pilot. BBMF fly 2 pilots, so co-pilot, so they have a sort of a funny little seat where you sit up, and then there's a navigator, sort of looks over the shoulder, and then an air engineer. So there's sort of 4 of them, if you can imagine the sort of the cockpit of the Lanc. The other positions then are generally filled by the ground crew when they go on a show. Display wise, it's sort of minimal crew, obviously for risk, etc. But the ground crew are allowed to fly on displays in the Lancaster. So you know, you've got the nose, the mid upper, and the tail. And you know, I've had the privilege of flying in all those positions and a little go at flying the Lancaster, which was wonderful. Different to the Spit, but you know, you're aware you're flying an absolutely iconic aircraft, and you can see why the boys loved it. It conveys, it's got your back, that thing.
Yeah, and obviously the BBMF, they've got everything. I think, have they got Mark II Spitfire, and you've got everything up to the 19. How do they compare?
Yeah, they got a 2, a 5, a 9, a 16, and 2 Mark 19s at the moment. Yeah, if you compare the 2 and the 5, very similar. The 9 and the 16, very similar. One's clip wing, so slightly better roll rate, and you lose a little bit of lift, so you land it's a tiny bit hotter, but very similar. And obviously 2 19s identical. So yeah, the big difference would, I guess, be between the sort of the 2 5 and the 19s. Yeah, quite different. You know, definitely Spitfires, but you know, the main one is it's Griffon engine versus Merlin. So the crankshaft goes the other way, so the propeller goes the other way, so the torque is the other way. So it's you know, in a Spitfire, Merlin Spitfire, if you power up, she's got a desire to go left, so it's right rudder to keep her straight essentially, and it's the opposite with the Griffon. And the, you know, I guess you could argue the 2s and the 5s, they definitely feel a bit lighter. They're probably the purest. The 9 is the sort of all-rounder. It flies beautifully. It really is a delight. And the Griffons are very light, actually, very light in pitch. Maybe not quite as completely harmonised, but I think that would be being cruel to it. They're all great in their own way. It's got a different feel with the engine. It's very the Griffin's got a sort of very sort of growly. It feels a little bit different even when you power it up, etc., than the Merlin. But they're all good. Again, it's degrees of perfection in a Spitfire.
Parky, I've got a question. It's absolutely fascinating listening to your life and career so far. Have you still got something on your wish list that you haven't yet achieved?
I mean, genuinely, I think I can go very happy from the aviation world. But you know, we always in the pub, we always used to chat about if a mosquito came to this country, but I haven't got that much real asymmetric time. I've got a lot of twin engine time, but but not to deal with the Mosquito. So probably a multi-engine mate that would get first dibs on that. There are a lot of aircraft that would be fascinated really by some the 109, the Focke-Wulf 190, just to see what it was like, reading those sort of stories. But genuinely, I am more than it sounds terrible, but I get a fair bit of split hours, and I absolutely love it, and I am more than content with my lot.
I was not surprised.
And does it the two-seater, having someone in the back, does it still, it doesn't kind of affect it too much, and handling wise, is it kind of still a nice Spitfire experience?
Yeah. I always start when I meet the passengers of asking, have they flown? But it doesn't really matter, because I want them to have a go on the controls. It's about 1,500 feet, but I want them to do some turns and get a feel for how light, delicate it is. And a lot of them ask, how does it compare to the single seater? And it's very, very little. The only times really it's slightly more aft CFG, and the only times you'd really recognise that would be possibly in the flare, or maybe at the top of the loop, or if you were very slow. But the stall, it's pretty similar, to be honest, and the actual lightness, delicacy of it, it's very, very similar. I tend to do probably, I'd say 90% in the two-seater now. So I really get sort of muscle memory or whatever for the weights of the two-seater. And then when I do jump in the single-seater, for the first 30 seconds, it's like, oh, that does feel quite light on the controls. And then it feels the same again. So, there were nuances, but the design that they came up with, Supermarine, it was a Supermarine design post-war. They just converted single-seat Spitfires. The Irish wanted two-seaters, and they sort of 1948, 49, they did the conversions. They did an amazing job. The view out the front, it's pretty good. You sit on top of the Spitfire, sort of above me and behind me. The handling qualities, again, they obviously invested a bit of time into it, because it's good. I could argue it's the same. The two-seat F-16, you were slightly further forward, and the purists didn't quite like it. The two-seat Eurofighter, was a bit hunchback, and we had 8.1 G when they first came in instead of 9, less fuel. You could always tell you're in a two-seater versus the single-seater. Whereas the Spit, it's pretty good.
You've got Hurricane in your logbook as well. How do the two compare?
Yeah, the Hurricane was the first warbird I flew, so BVMF had no two-seaters. So as I mentioned earlier, it was Chipmunk, a little bit of time in the Harvard, but to not become expert in the Harvard, purely just to prove that you could sort of fly something new that was going to feel a bit different, and fly from the front and back seat, literally one trip. And then it was into a Hurricane, just on your own. Say you start it, tap on the shoulder, bit of ground school, and off you go and work it out, kind of thing. So the Hurricane is very dear to my heart, because the old girl brought me back and didn't scare me. It's a surprisingly good machine, the Hurricane. The snag about the Hurricane is that its cousin happens to be a Spitfire, and if the Spitfire hadn't come along, we'd have loved the Hurricane. But the Spitfire is a nicer, more modern. It feels more taut, more balanced to fly. The Hurricane is great, but the Spitfire's better. That's how I describe it. It's slightly faster, but chatting to the boys who flew the Hurricane in the war, they were sold on the thing. It took a lot of damage. It turned very well, surprisingly quick. Top speed, it's sort of the speeds we used to fly it at about sort of 220, 230 knots. It ran out of speed a bit, whereas the Spitfire didn't. But up until then, if you were sort of just doing a tail chase between Spitfire and Hurricane, it was pretty similar. There wasn't a staggering leap in performance at that sort of level. And it was great. It stayed throughout the war, the Hurricane. I always figured, in my ignorance, by the Battle of Britain, it was, you could argue it was getting long in a tooth compared to the all-metal Spitfire, but they kept the production line going right up until the end of the war. And the PZ-865, one of the BBF Hurricanes, was the last Hurricane ever built of sort of 14,500 odd Hurricanes. And she was built in 1944, which is extraordinary when, there were very late marks of Spitfires being built at that time. But she was good. You could put 30mm cannon, bombs, snow, jungle, desert, fire-off carriers, the Hurricane was everywhere. And she definitely earned the reputation of, being a bloody good aircraft. And without either, the Hurricane definitely and the Spit, the Battle of Britain probably would have been lost. So we owe them a lot.
A couple of questions for you. Dan Smith says, the Spitfire, is it fully equipped to fly from the rear, or is it just, or any controls front seat only?
No, to fly it, it's fully equipped. So, you've got bizarrely the gear lever is the sort of the main selector is in the back, and then the front is a sort of a sort of copy of that, if you like. It's connected, but the main selector's in the back, which is unusual. But no, you've got stick rudder, obviously. You've got all the trims. You've got throttle and pitch control in the back. All the instrumentation in the back. The only thing you can't do in the back is start it. So technically, you could start it in the front, jump in the back, and off you go. But you'd have to be a brave bloke.
JDS Aviation Adventure says, what's your thoughts on Just Jane potentially flying again? And do you think the BBMF Lanc may fly together with it once it's restored? I'm guessing that they probably share some crews anyway, wouldn't they? Because the BBMF have got all the experience.
Yeah. That would be the natural place to turn. I mean, I've been to, East Kirkby, love it. And, when Vera, the Canadian Lancaster, came over in 2014, it's an iconic picture. We put the two flying Lancs over Just Jane on the ground, but with its engines going, and it's brilliant. Seeing, just even three together was magic. And it would be great, it'd be absolutely wonderful. And, if it was, you could do SSAC, the passenger flying in a Lanc, I'm sure, guys would, there'd be a huge demand for that. I know it goes well in Canada. And when when Vera came over in Canada, boys, it was sold out in seconds to fly in all the various positions. So, yeah, it would be wonderful. And, for those guys to have current Lancaster pilots, it's an absolute luxury. And I know they'd be chomping at the bit to jump into another Lanc.
Yeah, probably the final one. Richard Kennedy says, do the team pilots who move on from Coningsby still get to come back and to display, or is it too hard to keep the currency once you've gone afar?
Yeah, generally, once you've gone, you're gone, and it's the new boys in. It's same with all the display teams, same with the Reds. We call them the has-beens. I'm now one in both teams, but that's it. I guess, for example, if somebody got sick, they might look at the previous year if they were sort of still current, etc. But and that bizarrely happened to me with the Reds when a guy called Matt Jarvis, got sick. In 2003, I came back, so I was sort of waiting for a Eurofighter, but held with, I was on 100 Squadron at Leeming, so I was still current on the Hawk. So I was literally called back. It was the 40th anniversary of the Reds. So they desperate to make it a 9-ship, and poor Jarvo was poorly. Tragically, he died of cancer at 29. It was unbelievable. He was such a lovely mate. He was so gracious about me flying his jet. I remember coming back from Cyprus, and I was in his slots, but he was wonderful. And that does happen, and it's happened before with sort of injuries, etc. But essentially, when you're gone, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, any more questions from you?
No, all done. Thank you very much for joining us, Parky.
Yeah, well, brilliant. Thank you for being such a tremendous guest. Lots of nice comments in the comments. I put a link to Aero Legends. I'm sure it seems like there's no let up in the whole rides business in Spitfires. It seems like you're going to be busy forever.
It is busy. Yeah, bookings are great, but it's wonderful. It's definitely bucket list stuff. It's just so many people. When you first chat to me, it's, I wonder what it's like, because I'm sure we all do. Fly jets or fly a Spit, and it's such a lovely experience to first hand see the joy. I can generally see their face in the mirror above my head, and I absolutely love seeing them. Just that sort of light bulb coming on about wow, just the performance of the aircraft. It's quite comfortable. It's just a lovely bit of machinery, and it's just a nice place to be. In a Spitfire, pinch yourself, but it's magic. It really is.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, we'll pop you back in the green room and move on to Fancy Hangar. But Parky, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Fantastic. What a great guest. Sorry about the audio on that. It was a little bit crackly. There was something odd happening on StreamYard, but by playing with the buttons, I managed to fix it. But thanks for sticking with us. So Fancy Hangar, we thought we would pick warbirds this week, but not just any warbirds. We went piston-powered ones with nose wheels, so you can have all the fun, but without worrying too much about getting eaten for lunch by tricky ground manners. So who's first?
On the list, we've got Dave, I think.
Oh, it's always Dave, isn't it? Let's go with Dave.
I think I should go last, really, to make a splash.
Oh, ta-da. Yeah, really deep on you. No, we're going to make you go first, Dave.
Okay, well, I don't really need to say much about mine because once you see it, you realise I'm the winner. I mean, it is a nose wheel. It lands on land with a nose wheel. But obviously, the most fun is to be had landing on water and operating off water. But who wouldn't want to have this in their fantasy hangar? Fuel consumption is probably pretty high, but apart from that.
Yeah, but warbirds always pretty high, isn't it? I have to say, I do like the Catalina and the whole mix of water, land, air, sea. It's like, and big aeroplane, take all your mates. That is that's a very strong start from you, Dave, I would say.
Who's next?
Very next, yes. Let's go, Johnny.
Oh, okay, right. I've gone for the US Navy's first ever nose wheel fighter, which was the F-7F Tiger Cat.
Wow.
Which apparently originally was supposed to be called the Tomcat.
Oh gosh.
Which I guess would have meant that the 14 would have probably been called the Tomcat 2, maybe. But yeah, absolute beast of a machine. Looks great. In insanely small frontal area on the fuselage. If I haven't actually got a head-on photo,
but
it looks incredible. And the biggest things are the two double wasps either side, and the fuselage is just absolutely minuscule,
teeny tiny slim thing. And that I do think that is like that's the most potent warbird shape you could have with like nose wheel manners. That is quite the thing, isn't it? So
yeah. Am I guessing that's your photo, Ed?
No, that's not my photo. It's just what I found on the internet. So
I didn't know if that was a Lake Winnebago.
No, it does look a bit like it. Yeah, who knows? Yes, but nice choice, definitely. Rob, what did you go for?
I picked the Bell 39 Aero Cobra. There it is with its beautiful undercarriage, just to prove it's got a nose wheel. Why I picked it is how could it go from looking so ugly on the ground to looking so beautiful in the air. First flew in 1938. There were about 9,500 of them built. The unusual thing about it is that the engine is behind the pilot with a great big prop shaft to the tractor prop at the front. 1,200 horsepower engine in the back. Empty weight of about 3 ton, leading to a VNE of about 254 miles an hour. Beautiful in the air, disgusting on the ground.
and possibly the only fighter with car doors.
Yes, yeah.
Given that it was so complex and you had the engine in the back and the gearbox, the drive shaft and the gearbox up front, you read about it and it doesn't seem like there were many problems with it, really.
Probably because it's so simple. It didn't have a turbocharger, which is why the Brits didn't take it up. So, simple lasts. It was flown all around the world. You and I were talking about the number of countries that took it up.
Yeah.
9,500 from 38 to 44. I mean, that's pretty good in those 6 years to continue flying and be so popular. There are about 20 left today, most of them in the States.
Right. Yeah. Well, I went for this. I went for B-25 Mitchell, and I really like the Mitchell. Mostly because every time I see people with Mitchells at air shows, it looks like they're having it takes a team to operate. It looks like they're having a great lot of fun, and kind of once they're done, the thing's like a proper party bus. So it seems to be safe and forgiving, and it had a reputation for that. It's got space for 5 crew, and obviously you're not in wartime carrying a whole bunch of munitions, so I'm sure you can fit a few more people in. It's 2 1700 horsepower Wright twin Cyclone engines, and with a cruise speed of 200 knots. It's pretty useful for getting around, and I like my aerial photography. So with this, at least, you've got the rear turret position where you can unzip and shoot straight out the back. And I think that, I could definitely get beside having a Mitchell in my collection, I think. And I think that's probably I can do that. So, but yeah, no, I can see Warbird Party Bus. I quite like the idea of that. So in the comments, Martin Hand suggests P38 Lightning. I must admit, I've gone for a Lightning in the past for Fancy Hanger, and that would be a good choice. Beautiful choice, Dave, setting the bar high. Dave wins, Johnny wins, or Cat Burton says got to be a P38. What else have we got? The best has to be a Mosquito. Fraser, you weren't listening, were you? It's not a nose wheel. And imagine if someone had made a nose wheel Mosquito and had been shot. So if someone had made a nose wheel Mosquito, it would have been as bad as this. This is something I found. Someone at Messerschmitt is a Messerschmitt with a nose wheel. That's like, but they're like hedging their bets. It's like, should we leave the tail wheel on? And I'm not sure it's like, could any of that retracted? It's just horrific.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. What else?
As we know, Ed, real pilots fly tail wheel.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure the audience have fallen over with that one. What else have we got? Dave has to win, one of the few nose wheels that holds genuine attraction. Dave, Johnny's trying to beat you, and I fear he may have done that. Oh, the Hughes X11. I think that was that his. That was the aeroplane that tried to kill him, wasn't it? I think
it was the one flight. It crashed on the first flight, didn't it?
That's it.
But it looks incredible.
Yeah, quite. That's like a very mean machine, isn't it? Yeah. Aero Cobra, a bit too dangerous for my liking. People on Tucano. No, that's not a Warbird. Well, it's a very modern Warbird and not very exciting. Go to the back.
Turboprop, isn't it?
Yeah, as well.
Yeah.
Mark Litherland reminds us the Mark 1 Typhoon had car doors. Oh, there we go. Dave wins. Rob, great pick. Love Ed's B25. Mitchell is good, but not Pratt & Whitney's. A26, good choice, definitely. Steve Newjam, who's flown a few Warbirds in his time. Dave wins. I think this might be. Johnny wins. P38 would be better. Dave wins. It might be a Dave. It's a Dave. Or Johnny wins. Dave's week. It doesn't look like it's you or I, though, Rob. So it grapples with me. Just a few votes. I fear Ed has it. But great contenders. I'm going to call it, as I think, a Dave wins. So what no Lightning. So, yeah. Oh, gosh, there are a lot of comments. Yeah, there we go. Oh, ME262. No, we're talking piston, Pete. So what happened there? Did they put a longer engine up front? No, I think that is that awful ME109 is just a regular ME109. It's just your brain is befuddled by what they've done with the undercarriage. It's just terrible. So yeah. Well, it just leaves me to say thanks, Rob, for coming on and filling the spot. Hang on, very quickly. Dornier DO335.
Yeah,
all about that one. Because you get nose wheel and ejector seats. So yeah, very, very good. Rob, thanks for joining us. Thanks for filling in for Ian and not having a rant.
Oh well, maybe next time. I think it's something.
Maybe next time. Dave, I'm guessing no events.
There are a couple. Very quickly. Obviously in Frankfurt this weekend, Saturday rather. Pilot Careers Live, one of our shows. If you're in Frankfurt. On Saturday, Stollfest at Leicester. That was postponed that was rearranged from earlier in the year. Saturday and Sunday, the Shadow Owners Flying at New Farm Piddington. The British Air Racing Championship at Sandown. And at Sywell, there's the Piston and Props Sywell Classic. Next week, if you're into helicopters, Helitech London XL.
Fantastic. Very good.
The Shadow event at New Farm is going to be popular, so I recommend that one.
Is that they did try to run that earlier in the year and there was some bad weather? So is it rerun?
Pass. I missed that. I just know it's on this weekend.
Yeah, but I think, am I right? Have they got David Cook coming along?
Yes.
Yes, the designer of the Shadow, and it's hard to believe it's 40 years old.
That's sort of why they're doing it.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Good. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us. Audience, thanks for coming along and watching. Parky, thanks for being a great guest, and we'll see you all next week.
Yep.
Thanks.
See you.